What's going on, friends? Sam Prentice back once again. This is the long-awaited Creality K2 Plus combo. Long-awaited, of course, because we did see this back in April at the 10th anniversary, where I was actually able to get a first look on this printer. So here it is in its glorious design here. Now, there are some instructions that are on the top here, which I'll show you in this shot. So step one is by taking these little plastic doofers out of the side, then lifting the top of the box up, then taking all of the squeezy bits inside of it and getting the machine out of the box. There it is, there, right there. Then we've got to take the top off, which goes up here in the end. And number 5, we've got to take all the gubbings out of the inside. That has your toolbox, that has your screen, that has your filament stuff in there, squash boxes, all that good stuff. Then in the bottom here, we have to take all this other stuff out. So there's filaments in there. Oh, you can see there's filaments in here. That's actually step 9. Step number 6, take out the filaments, pull it all out. There's 4 lots of filaments in there. Then step 9, we're going to be taking these parts out, getting rid of all the stuff inside of that, getting the filaments out, and you are pretty much ready to go. So, without further ado, let's get going.
You are watching a master at work.
This channel is sponsored by Polymaker and PCBWay, the best choice in filament and PCB manufacturing. Explore PCBWay's 3D printing portal. Easily upload your STL file and choose from a spectrum of exotic filaments for that special project. From PCBs to 3D prints, trust PCBWay.com for your unmatched quality and innovation. Visit them today at PCBWay.com.
What's going on, folks? I did need to just cut into this video because we have had this machine now for a couple of weeks. This is purely an unboxing video, and then towards the end we do a first print and I'll give you kind of some information based off of that. There is a full review coming, of course, as well, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. But what I will say is the Creality machine has been really, really good so far, so make sure you watch the end of the video and hopefully we can answer some of those questions that I'm sure that you have as well. So let's get straight back into it. I'm going to lift from here. Wow, okay. There is not a lot of room in here. So let's take this apart. So in comparisons to what we had with the K1, I can definitely say there is a seismic difference between that and what we've got here. Obviously, elements around the glass door, I'm guessing it's here. We should hopefully avoid any of those problems moving forward. It's very well packaged. So in the top here, we've got the service records, we've got your guarantees, etc., and probably your Creality Cloud information. So I'm going to pop that to one side for a moment. Part off. Ooh, okay. The back's coming off, the side's coming off, everything's coming out. This is great. Okay, this is interesting. So this is the back. We're going to spin this round. Here we go. There is the front. Good news, of course, here is that the glass is still intact. So no smashed glass, which is encouraging. What's all this? Okay, so in the top, let's see if this pulls out. Hopefully it will. Okay, makes more sense. So in the top here, we've got a Creality toolkit, which is what I'm assuming is going to be here. Let's just open this up real quick and have a look. Oh, this is flash. Yep, there we go. There it is. We've got some snips, we got some lube, we got some glue and screwdriver, various other bits inside of that. So let's pop that to one side. We've got the filament swatches from Creality with all their new lineup of filaments, which is great. We've got the screen here, so we'll pop that to one side as well. In fact, most of this stuff I'm going to pop to one side. We do have what looks like a US plug though. That's a shame. Never mind, it doesn't matter. We have plenty of plugs in the room here. So again, we've got the CFS routing unit and we've got another nozzle which looks really nice actually. I don't know which version that is. And a bunch of other stuff. So we'll go through that in a minute because obviously we want to get jumping straight in to what we've got inside. We do have some Hyper PLA. It's a half spool. And we do have another one in here, which again is another half spool. There is red and blue. Pop those down here. So inside of here, this is kind of cool. Lots of packaging, like an absolute ton of packaging inside of here. Let's just pull this back ever so slightly and that allows us then to take out these filament packaging parts. Again, insanely well packaged. More packaging, more packaging, more packaging. And in the bottom here, we now have the CFS unit. So let's try, this might all be bolted in actually. Let's just try and work out where we're gonna go. We sort of need to lift the machine up at this point. Now the machine is all kinds of crazy heavy. Lucky for me, I was able to lift this up on my own, but I wouldn't suggest anybody doing that. There's some bracing points here and here, and these need to be lifted off. So let's try lift this out the box first without doing an Uncle Jesse and smashing the door.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's taped, so that's good. Right, let's try and lift him up. Okay, let's pop him down on top of this box. Again, so much packaging. Better to be safe than sorry. There we go. More packaging. Interesting. So there's an RFID section on the back here, which we didn't necessarily see before. USB again remained on the side, despite what I said about it. Knew they wouldn't change it. So on the front here, we have got a couple of locked elements, and they're locked in place, which isn't unusual, but it's a big plastic part on the side. Take that off. Now I'm going to expose the glass to the elements finally. On the side here, it looks like we have the build plate as well. That's a shame because that's got covered my plastics in tape. I have to clean that off. So the deal is we're going to get this out of the box. We're going to do a first print. Just going to give you kind of like the lowdown on what the print is all about. And then there should also be another video that will be published, which is basically going to be my review on this machine. Now, as I said previously, the machines that we saw in Shenzhen back in April, they were DVT models. So they were design validation test models. There were 5 of them, I believe. Only 4 of them were operating at the time that I was there. And of course, that's what we saw at all of those shows. So since then, all of the machines that you've seen are DVT models. They have made certain iterations into this since. So we'll also be looking at what we had then, what the vision was, and obviously what they've changed. Now, actually, this section might not be the build volume. It actually might be the glass for the very top, which of course makes sense. Yeah, it feels heavy. Okay, we'll put that to one side for the minute because we're not going to need it just yet. Again, this tape is kind of annoying. But let's take the plastic off of here. Anyone that's doing your garbage disposal is probably going to hate you after buying this. There's so much packaging. This looks really, really well put together though. Okay, let's open it up. See that, Uncle Jesse? That's how we do it. Nice. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we need to kind of make note of here. Again, there seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts that we're going to have to undo straight away to get the CFS unit out. Of course, that at the minute we're envisaging that's going to sit on the top. The door though is kind of in the way. See what we get up to now. So let's start by undoing some of these screws here. If we can lift this out, then at least we have kind of half a chance to get access to the rest of the machine. So from what I'm aware of at the minute, Creality have informed me that they've sent out 10 of these units. These are the first batch of production units that have gone out to influencers. So thank you very much to the powers that be at Creality for allowing me once again to be involved with this launch. And as I have previously said to people publicly and privately, I think there's quite a lot pending on this machine. I think this is a really important machine to Creality, and I think it's really important that they get it right, and they've got it right. So of course that will remain to be seen at this point in time. Let's give that a shot. Now we should, hopefully, be able to lift this out now. Just going to make sure everything's moved out of the way. Okay, so that moves now. Okay, that's good. Looks like we've also got another couple of bolts here. Surprised it doesn't come out. Maybe it will come out. Okay, it will. There we go. There we go. So we're going to place that down on the floor just for a minute, and we're going to work out how to just take these little parts out here. Now, again, there is more packaging inside because that's obviously where it's housed the CFS unit. There's more filament in here. Look at this. 4 half spools of filament. It's Hyper PLA in white and Hyper PLA in black. So you get 4 half spools inside of this machine. I guess that's if you have the CFS unit. There are a bunch of different things that need to be removed before you start operating this. Again, more packaging. Tons of packaging. So much packaging. Okay, that's good. Right, so inside here, we've got remove the screw rod holder prior to using the printer. So that is going to be this. And that's basically just holding the lead screw in place. There it is. Bonk. And we've got 2 of those, 1 for each side. We have got 4 screws inside of here as well that need to be disconnected. So let's have a look here. Might need a slightly different bolt for that. Right, that's good. So we have a brace here just to keep everything in alignment. Of course, it houses everything inside of it. So when you're shipping something like this, you would hope that it would have enough packaging, which undoubtedly this does. And I think you would hope that the bracing points are going to be well secured, which seems they are. So that's just a plastic bracing point. Set that down. We've got another one on the bottom here. Obviously we can't switch this on or do anything with it until we've removed these screws. There's 4 screws to take out this plastic part at the back. And I'm already starting to look ahead of myself a little bit here as to where the cutter is, where the nozzle wipe is. We weren't able to really get a in-depth look when we first shot on this, which was kind of frustrating. But of course, as you can imagine, that was a design validation test model that we saw. And if you've seen these K2s at any of the shows, or even in the studio where Zora and Kevin are, they're probably going to be DVT models. They're not going to be ultimately what you're going to be getting out of the manufacturing process. So again, I'm seeing more protective covers in here. There's plastics that need to be pulled off. We're going to get some closer shots of all this stuff in a minute. Okay, so that's now coming out. That's the second one. I'll come around the other side for this one, I think. So it looks like all of these screws are the same size. Again, what we've seen in some of the processes of these being shipped is you've seen like a skew. So if it's been damaged in transit, you know, you get that rather than being an exact square. We have been seeing it, you know, completely skewed, and of course you're never going to get a good print out of that again, even if you straighten it out. I think that's way beyond economical repair at that point. But this seems to be, I'm just looking at all the metal parts. Yeah, it's looking good. I think it's got the plastic internals there. The side panels do come off, I think. They certainly should do. Again, major upgrade on this hot end. That went on the floor. Okay, so what else have we got here? Please tear off the sticker before use. Let's get rid of this sticker then. There's 2 stickers on the back here, and I guess this is going to be for the carbon filtration. Been doing a little bit of work over the past couple of weeks on microplastics and actually how horrendously bad microplastics are, not just in the 3D printing world, but in general. And looking at things like the stats around each week you're consuming a credit card of microplastics. Kind of is a weird thought process. And if you know Nathan from Nathan Builds Robots, I know he did a video basically looking at carbon fiber and filaments and stuff, and I'm really kind of interested in what the community and manufacturers are going to start looking at in regards to manufacturing and enclosures of printers, because obviously this has carbon filters in it, but who's regulating that? It's not really a regulated element. So I'd be really interested to sort of get some stats around actually, you know, 6 months of using this, how much microplastics these things are actually catching rather than having an open frame. So I think enclosures are certainly the way forward. Now this, at the time of release, was 350 degrees on the hot end. So that means that we can print some more peculiar or more exotic filaments moving forward. And I'm really excited about that because we do have Fiberon by Polymaker, and that's where we put this advert in, about Fiberon. And some of these Fiberon filaments need high-end heat, but we'll cut that in. Okay, so now we're back to the studio. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is take out these 4 bolts that are holding the bed into position. Again, we're still using the same hex nut, which I don't think it's got a label on it, but those are super easy to come out. There's number 1. Pick the screwdriver back up again. It looks like in the bottom here I've also got a little piece of blue plastic. So I'm guessing that Creality have gone through their usual process of testing, and having been to the factories over the last couple of years, what they tend to do is they have a burning test. So you'll have possibly the 10 or 20 of these machines all lined up, and they'll be doing a 36-hour burning test. So that's testing everything and making sure that the cables are installed correctly and your belts are set up, and of course that it's extruding without problems. So when you get the machine, you shouldn't have any issues. It's famous last words right there. Seems weird not doing a live stream on this, because I felt like, because of the release dates and stuff, we weren't able to do that in time, because I'm going to be away where I think when this comes out on the release date. So a little bit of plastic in the bottom here. I don't know what that is. It doesn't look like filament to me. It could be anything. We'll have a look when we start putting things together. So poop chute, of course, is at the back. So when I'm referring to the USB, this is what I'm talking about, this little cubby hole in the side. The RFID is here, and we're going to guess here that by the time we plug in the filament holder, the RFID is going to be active, because obviously that's where the spool's going to sit. The rear of the poop chute is here. Plenty of fans on the back here, lots and lots of fans. We have the CFS connection here, and we also have an Ethernet connector there as well. Again, it gives you the dimensions of the printer here. 32 kilos. I think this was more. I think it was more weight. We'll check that. I think it was more like 45 kilos before. Can we just blur this out? Again, this is where we're plugging everything into. And I can't see here if there is, if the power supply is automatic for 120, 240. I believe it's going to be, because all modern ones are. But we'll do, as I say, talking about this tape as well when I was pulling the tape off. Again, mute this. But this is what I was talking about, just getting the nastiness off of there and obviously making it looking spiffing. So on that first pickup I was talking about the re-engineered front valance that's on here. Look at that. Quite different to what we saw the first time round. Magnets, of course, that hold it all on. And I'm hoping we just plug that straight in. That's interesting hot end on there. That looks great. So let's pop this back on. Should just snap on. Don't want to force it. Go on. Let's try again. There you go, it snaps on. Okay. And we've got the pinch on here. So we've got a nozzle wipe here, and we've also got what looks like a filament cutter which drops down straight into the poop chute. We also have a temperature monitor down here, and of course your filament and all your gubbins goes straight out of this into the back. So there it is. Wonderful. Now the next thing we've got to do though is add the screen to the front. So let's pick this back up. So next up we're going to install the screen, which should be relatively easy. Please connect to the internet and update the firmware. Okay, we will do that. So they're using the same plugs as we had on the K1 and the K1C. That's all relatively simplistic. Although, how do we connect that to that? There's got to be a bracket somewhere, right? Let's have a look. Here's the bracket, screen base. There's a screen base bracket. We've got to put that on first. I'm guessing that the, that's interesting, okay. I'm guessing because of the way that it was boxed. Okay, again, it's the same screws. This is very easy to put together. Fairly enjoyable, in fact. Okay, let's line him back up. So I'm going to mention it again about the USB on the side, because I had quite a few comments about the USB on the side. Why does it matter? You can run a cable, you can do this, you can do that. All it was is when you look at an intuitiveness of a machine, so let's say for instance a microwave, everything's at the front. You don't put your dinner in the side, do you? Just saying. That was the idea. It's all about being intuitive. So I kind of would have loved to have seen it maybe here. But the engineers were saying, well, the board's here. That's where the board is. The motherboard's inside. And I was like, yeah, but everything's at the front. It's all at the front. What if you had a print farm? And this isn't going to be my only unit. I've got 2 of these coming. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll have to buy a lead and plug it in. That's what I'll have to do. That's what I'll do. I'll show them. I'll plug it in the side. Or we could get the Dremel out. We'll look at that. Okay, screen on. Just have a look, see how it goes. Pop it in, clip it on. Okay, let's plug it in then. Wonderful. Ta-da! Look at that. Fabulous. Let's plug this little bit of plastic into the USB. RFID on the side. Very interesting to me. What are we going to use for that? Is that going to be for a... what is that going to be for? That will obviously be for your filament detection. And then of course the question is, well, is it going to work with bamboo filaments? No, it's probably not. But it might do. If they open source everything, and you know the commitment for open source is for the printer and the firmware, so obviously this will be running Clipper in some way, shape or form. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have to set up their RFID. They don't have to open source that if they don't want to. But they might. You might find that that's the big change. That's the USB on the side of your laptop. That's the, you know, who dictates what we do next and how we do it. Wonderful, look at that. Glass top, glass front, plastic sides. Hey, that looks fabulous. Now, in the room here, the position of this particular printer is going to replace the K1Cs I have over here. The pink K1C is going to a lovely friend of mine's daughter, so we're going to ship that out to them. I'm going to have to keep the red one though, because we're going to see CFS for the K1 series. So the K1 Max, we've got a new one of those coming out to me, hopefully sometime soon. In any case, the red one I want to keep because I want to see that in multicolour, and of course the new Max version, which is the one with the front plate that looks very sweet and sexy. That's why I'm keeping those. So, and also we've got the V3 as well, which again will have multicolour. So I'm going to clean this bit up and well, let's get this plugged in and see what happens next. So I've cleaned the majority of the tape off now, and it is certainly looking a little bit better. But we do of course have the CFS system, which is right here. Let's take it out of the wrapper. Awesome, let's plug that in and pop him on top there. So this is what you're going to be ending up with. Now, one key struggle straight away, one big takeaway from this whole thing is, if you look in the background over here, we've got the X1 Carbon with the AMS system on top. Now, that is already at the peak of where it can go to. So if I try and lift that, I kind of have to shift and lift because there's a bar that runs across. This 100% is not going to fit in the same part where I thought I was going to put this. And of course you can mount this to the side, but then you're sort of taking up twice the machine, which really sucks. So I think this machine's going to have to go kind of over there, which means I'm going to have a bunch of things to clear out. But I guess that's probably a good place for it, and that means I don't have to move too much stuff that's behind me. But space is certainly going to be a concern. So let me grab, I'm going to cut this. Let's grab a tape measure. I'll keep rolling for a second. I'll just get the measurements on this machine. Okay, so with the tape measure, going to be looking at roughly 37 inches to the top there. Plus, we're going to need to be able to lift this fully open as well. So let's pick this up and pull it back. Oh my word, okay. I don't even know if over there is going to have enough room. So we're going to be looking at a total of 45 inches. So 45 inches tall, or 100 and, let's call that 115 centimeters if you're in old money. Then plus we have this bit at the top here. Let's bring that into 63 centimeters or 25 inches. And then across the front here, we're looking at 19 inches, that's 49 centimeters. So it's a big machine, 350 by 350 by 350 mil. Good God, I'm gonna have to clear a whole bunch of stuff out. I thought I was gonna, so the original concept was gonna be that actually I was just gonna pop it over there, and it will mean doing so much to take that shelving down, and yeah, I think I'll have to reorganize a few things. Of course, we've got the Prusa's over here as well, and again, obviously with the tails there, it might fit quite nicely into that. Let's just have a quick look at that. What we're about 43, 45 inches. No chance. If you're gonna have a stand, if you're gonna stand a chance to actually be able to open this, this is going to be certainly from a tool element here. I think we're going to have some issues. Now, interestingly enough, the CFS is pretty cool. It's a shame that they didn't go with the temperature control inside of this. That's a really it's a shame that they didn't do the temperature control inside of this, because I think that would have just added so much more value to this system. But again, you know, as long as everything's dry, your filament's dry and stuff. And of course, if you're running anything that is maybe a nylon or an abrasive material, you're probably not going to run it through the CFS anyway. We're going to test some things. In the next video, we are going to see if this will run TPU. I know it says that it probably won't, but hey, you know what? We're going to give it a go, see what happens with that. So what we're showing here is just putting the side filament on, because I believe at some point when I print some other exotic materials, although a lot of them need to be heated, I think I'm probably going to want to have this on the side. Now this is all metal as well, so metal construction, again, other than this part here, which is the normal kind of Creality plastic spool holder, the rest is crazy durable. Now the buffer, there's a print buffer that goes up here, or it used to go up here. I'm interested to see if it's going to be the same thing, but if not, what you have is you have your print spool coming through here, coming up through here, and then obviously connecting straight into the printer. And yeah, well, let's put the buffer on and see what happens. Now in here is all of the materials you're going to need to connect your CFS into this system. Power cables and other bits and pieces, so let's pop those on. Okay, so on the buffer side here, now originally it was kind of up the top here, I believe, and I have to look back at the reference material that I've got, but it's now mounted here. And you get a little kit, again with another little wrench. I guess they're including this. I don't know why they would include that unless you're getting the CFS system, but in any case, let's pop that on. It's just 2 screws. Okay, so while I'm putting this on, of course, you've got one that's going to act as the buffer. This is basically on a spring here, and that pushes the filament through. Now, you can have up to 4 CFS units on that. You only obviously have one on here, so we're going to have one that comes out of the base of here, which you can't see. So let me get the shot up there. So what you're going to have is you're going to have one PTFE tube that's going to come out and pop into here, and the other one is then going to feed up into the printer up inside of here. So there's no need to have several different PTFE tubes, which is obviously what you've got with the Anycubic range as a good example to that. And of course, up on top of here, if I can move it up again. So at the top here, we have the power and we have the data cables. And again, I think you can daisy chain these into 4. So that's that. The other thing is there's weirdly a mounting point here. So, I mean, I guess you could have the buffer on here if you wanted to. So maybe that's where I'm getting the confusion wrong. Maybe the buffer was up on here before, instead it might have been here. I'm not sure. I'll check that out on the footage anyway. So just to point out as well, it does come with these 2 manuals. You've got the CFS and you've got the K2 Plus installation manual. So far, I've sort of done this by the seat of my pants. I believe I have got everything that I need there, but I will obviously double check. It does go through the things that you need to remove prior to engaging with this. It also talks about adding the Creality Cloud if you see fit to. Now on the CFS side, this is the bit that I really just want to make sure that I've definitely got right. Just want to ensure that the port number, so is this called the CFS 485 port? And that obviously needs to be connected to the printer. Now, is that the one down the bottom, or is there something else that's on here? So I just wanted to make sure that that is definitely right. And of course, it also dictates where the buffer goes, etc., etc. So on this one as well, there's not any holes. So I don't know if this is kind of an afterthought or if they're looking to try and change this up past potentially 16 colours, because maybe it would allow for that. Certainly if you only got a single buffer here. So if you had 8 in this instead of 4, you could have maybe 32 colours. Interesting. Either way, let's go by the manual and plug this on in. So just skipping back onto this, there are actually 2 leads. There's the 100cm lead and the 45cm lead. Now the 45 apparently plugs into this here, and then up on the top here, again, this is where you're going to come into some issues if you want to bring the CFS unit out of the local area. If you want to kind of move it somewhere else, you're kind of restricted to kind of where you can put it. But we're going to plug that in here, and again at the top here, let's move that into frame. We're going to plug this into the top, like so, and then we're going to plug that, move it along there, and just plug that into the bottom. Okay, great. Just a bit of cable management there, just make sure it's looking nice. So next we've got PTFE long, and the long one is going to come out of the CFS unit. Again, these are all independent. I'm going to plug that one in, just like that, and we're going to plug it into this one on the inside. Now I'm assuming that's going to be right, but I guess it could be wrong. Maybe that is wrong. Let's plug it into the inside one just in here, and then we have the PTFE short, which brings it out of the buffering system and up into the 3D printer itself, just like that. Again, that's how the buffer works. That'll push the filament in. Excellent. Okay, let's get this plugged in. Let's get the first print on the go. This isn't the best place to perhaps house a printer, but meanwhile, while this is doing its first print and we're getting everything powered up, I'm going to move some stuff over there ready for the main review. So let's click into that. What do you think then?
Good.
It's good, is it? Happy with it?
Yeah, it surprised me.
It surprised you, did it?
Come on.
All right. Just notice on the side there that the camera cap needs to be removed, so I reckon we do that now. There we go, that came off quick, didn't it? There we go, there he is. Okay, so let's download the Creality software and see if we can start getting this thing printing. So again, I just wanted to give my final thoughts in regards to the machine at that particular point. Now,
We did have a number of kind of weird inconsistencies on some of the larger prints. I had some kind of weird quality problems that I'll go through on the main review. And that was actually down to a software bug because the fans were basically blowing at the wrong time. Now, we're into a kind of more advanced stage of the reviewing now. And again, I've had the machine for a couple of weeks now, and now we're printing kind of more advanced filaments with different firmware now. And this is PPS infused with carbon fiber, which has quite a unique sound to it. So we're now getting into kind of the prosumer version of this particular machine. But so far, it's been really good. And actually, I know there's been some delays and I know there's been some further kickbacks and bits and pieces. But what's important to remember is I think with this particular machine, Creality really want to show the best of themselves this time round. I know if you've been around this for a while, you've had the CR6 launch and a bunch of other stuff like that in the past that's always been a kind of a bit lumpy. This is actually probably the best they've ever done. And granted, you know, there are some familiarities between this and a rival machine, which is fair point. But what we'll go on to say is that if you have invested money into this, or if you're on the fence about it, it's certainly, I would say, probably one of the best investments you're going to make this year. Now, of course, we do know that other manufacturers are going to be providing more machines. People are going to start catching up. But some of the key points on this, the 350 on the hot end, certainly if you're looking to print in more advanced and exotic materials, even carbon fiber or abrasive stuff, this is definitely going to be a machine that you're going to be able to work with that. Again, the heated chamber works very well. The nozzle is absolutely a mega at the moment. We're cutting through carbon fiber like there's nobody's business. But of course, on the flip side to that, if you're using this for color filament, if you're using this for color models and you wanted to do color mixing and all that kind of stuff, you can do that on this as well. So one of the big things that Creality did was they sort of showed a benchy that had sort of 4 different colors in it, but there was no blending on that. And I think that led to some confusion between the public and what Creality were trying to perceive as being a multicolor print. You can of course stop and it will do all the usual stuff that you would expect to see on a what we call a multicolor printer. So hopefully that gives you some reassurance as to, you know, where we're at so far. Again, there have been some firmware fixes, and I think this has been a really bold step for Creality this time. Something that I did suggest to them a few weeks ago and say, hey, you know what, why don't you send us the machines a couple of weeks before? Because as a content creator, it ends up being kind of like a bum fight on who gets the DHL or UPS order first. And then, of course, the content that comes out typically is bad because we're not able to have the time or the effort to really sort of show the machine off to the best of its advantage. And, of course, if there are any issues or any inconsistencies or problems with the prints, obviously we're able to then feed that back to Creality and they're able to fix it. So it's a good thing at the moment, but stand by for the review. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
You are watching a master at work.